In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
Hey, Don, thank you so much for inviting me into the Murdock-Whitney house. You mind giving us a little background about what the house is and the property and what your role is here?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me on. The house is now called the Murdock-Whitney house. There's 20 rooms, 9 fireplaces, 7 bathrooms, 7 or 8 bedrooms, depending on what you call a bedroom. It was owned by the same family since it was built by the Murdocks in the early 1800s. Through marriage, it became the Whitney house and stayed in the family ever since we acquired it in the year 2000.
They lived here up until, what, a couple decades
ago? 2000 is when Adelaide Whitney, she passed on New Year's Eve, and she'd already planned for the house to convey to the Historical Society upon her death. She had no natural children, and she did have a niece, Meg Urquhart. And between Meg and her, they decided that the house should go to the Historical Society. Meg already had a house of her own. She was already in her 60s. She didn't. Her and her husband had no desire to run a 22-room house at their age, so they decided it was best to come to us, and so we got it.
So how many people lived in it? Was it only like one older person that lived in it when she passed?
Till the end, it was just Adelaide, and Meg would stay with her, taking care of her, and she had some day maids and things. So at the end, it was just one little old lady.
Wow.
But back in the day, there were several servants, gardeners and, a couple of drivers and lots of, cleaning people and cooks and things that would run the house.
Now, was there any sense that this house was haunted when it was passed to you guys for the Historical Society? Did you know that there were ghosts and entities here, or did that happen afterwards?
It seemed to happen after. We didn't know a whole lot about it when it was acquired. It was, a single family home up until we got it. So we weren't really privy to anything that's happened in the house, when the family lived here. But since we acquired it, there were lots of things that were happening that were pretty unexplainable. So it was just obvious that there are other entities in here.
Now, this house, because I've done other interviews at like S.K. Pierce, where it was a total mess, where it started and became beautiful. This thing was handed to you in just great shape, right?
Absolutely. It was, livable when Adelaide died, obviously, but Meg decided to go the next level, and she had it rewired, she replumbed it, she put a new heating system in, she had the floors done, and basically just made it turnkey and handed the keys over to us and said, enjoy it, it's yours.
This is an audio podcast, so people can't see it, but it just is just what you would anticipate for a home like this, with the history of it. And it doesn't have that like high sheen, high polish look like somebody came in and renovated. It just has a natural lived in, but very clean, ornate feel to it. Older houses tend to be slightly cluttered, but this really isn't. It's got it's like the old wallpaper. It's got pictures on every wall hanging, whether it's paintings of the people who used to live here or whatnot. But it's a really beautiful place.
Yeah, we strive to keep it period, and again, not make it cluttered, just because the woodwork in every room just stands out on its own, and it's gorgeous. Between cherry and mahogany and oak and pine, there's pretty much a flavor of every type of wood in the house. So,
what do you call this? Is this colonial? Is it?
Some people would call it Victorian. I would call it more of a colonial revival. The house did go through a really huge renovation in 1900. Before that, it was a classic Victorian, and it was closer to the street. But in 1900, the Whitneys decided to do a renovation because they had several family members that lived in Washington, D.C. that like to come up and stay for the summers. So Mary Whitney decided to take the house, and they picked it up and they moved it back about 100, 200 feet, and they put on the front addition. And back in those days, just, moving a house seemed to be like no big deal. And they did it, and we have pictures of it, which is pretty cool.
Is it on logs or something?
Yeah, exactly. It's just up on pilings, and they just moved it back and put on the front addition in 1900, which included the music room, the east parlor, and the bedrooms upstairs as well, of course. And that just gave her a lot more room to entertain. And at the same time, they kind of did the whole house over as far as the look goes. The woodwork was changed, and the exterior obviously was completely changed to the more colonial revival look that is now with the columns and the white. It's always been white with black shutters.
Now, the Winchendon Historical Society, I don't know how many years ago, was a room in a library, right? And
correct.
then the keys were handed to this, and since then, what is it? What do you guys have now for property in here?
Well, yeah, we went from one room in the library to now we have three. Not only do we have the Murdock-Whitney house, we have the Isaac Morse house next door, which is a little bit older. It's from the 1700s, like 1778. A whole different feel type of house, but that's where we house our toy museum. And we also have our ice cream parlor over there, which is a salvage from the penny candy store here in Winchendon. So we've recreated the whole ice cream parlor feel over there, and people seem to enjoy it. And we've been doing that for about 3 years now. And just a year and a half ago, we acquired our third property, which is a church, the Old Center Church, which is about a mile away from here, in the old center portion of Winchendon. The church was given to us. The congregation, or the people that were running it, were getting a little up in their years, and they wanted to make sure it would go somewhere where it would be taken care of. The church dates to about 1850. It's a classic New England white steeple church. Seats about 250 people, just very classic and plain. And it came with a nice church hall below. So it's a fun little, bonus for us to, have that property and even have a little function hall below to do some stuff.
Now, the other two homes, the Isaac Morris house and the church, what type of condition are they in?
Again, we were pretty lucky as far as the condition goes. The Isaac Morris house was vacant, actually, for 6 years. It was a foreclosure. We stared at it for 6 years, just waiting for the bank to put it on the block. And finally they did. And when, in walking through the property, there was virtually nothing wrong with it. The previous owners had taken very well care of it. And, everything was meticulously updated, including the sills. There's no rot. In fact, even the bank painted it and put a new roof on before we bought it. So again, that was another house that just was sort of turnkey, and we went right in.
Is that why it took so long to foreclose? Because it was in such great shape and they didn't want to have all the price? Or?
Actually, no, there was a little story behind that. That was when the bank was trying to sell it, one of the realtors decided, we should have a delivery of oil, not knowing that down in the basement, the oil hookup was disconnected. So the oil man pumped 150 gallons or 200 gallons of oil into the basement, which created an EPA hazard for the house. So the bank had to do an EPA by the book cleanup. So, which meant digging out the whole basement floor and putting points all across the property just to test the soil, make sure nothing was contaminated. Nothing really was, but they had to wait a specific amount of time before they were allowed to sell it. So they sold it at a loss, basically. Yeah. If they even left the family, that they foreclosed on in there, they would have been doing better. So
it's not like a 300-gallon delivery or something,
Yeah, it was like half that, 150.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah. But it was to our benefit, because by that time they just wanted to dump it.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing for your job is you're getting houses that are in really good shape. Mm-hmm. The bad thing is you keep getting more and more properties to manage.
Well, exactly. Yes, it's it became this is my full-time volunteer job. It can take 50 to 60 hours a week sometimes, especially when we have, events going on. It's really, it's a labor of love. And I do joke when, I'll keep doing it till I get tired, and I'm not yet. So it is a lot of fun, but it is a lot of work.
Yeah, you're a relatively young guy, or at least you look at. Like they were eyeballing you to take over this place. Do you have like a suitor that you're looking? Have you been kind of looking around?
I do actually. Yeah, he's about 16 right now, because I figure I got like 10 more years.
Is it your son? Or?
No. He's actually a volunteer here. He's worked in our ice cream shop, and he's got the work ethic and he likes history. So I do joke with him. I say, like, Charlie, this is going to be all yours.
That'd be great.
But yeah, he seems receptible to it. So we'll see.
That's cool.
But other than him, no, I don't have anybody.
It's hard to find.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about lastly the church. Is that is there any? I guess both houses. We're going to come back to this one, but we'll just at least dabble in it. Isaac Morris house, I've heard, that there is definitely some stuff going on there, correct?
Absolutely. And it's funny, I think when we do our ghost hunt nights, I think the ghosts kind of get together and they say, which house are we going to be more active in? Because some nights it's at Murdock-Whitney and some nights it's at Isaac Morris. So it's kind of interesting. But Isaac Morris is a little bit different. It's a heavier vibe over there. There's been a couple more tragic events that happened over there that make the whole feeling over there just a little sadder. We've, had sitting at the dining room table there, heard blood-curdling screams from upstairs that just can't be explained. It was just bizarre. And everybody at the table heard it.
Was this during an event or?
This was during an event. Our volunteers were sitting in the dining room, and just out of the blue, it was just scream as plain as day. And it did not come from anybody in the house. So that kind of freaked a lot of people out. Not to mention the fact that, we do share with people the tragic events that happened there. I always like to let them go in and kind of figure it out on their own. And then towards the end of the night, I'll tell them. Yeah. But it's, again, it is an active house. People, the basement as well. Lots of touching going on there. Feelings, touching your shoulders and hair.
Are they older ghosts? And the reason I ask is, but some people, sometimes for older houses, the ghosts tend to be attracted more to the women or be a little more ruder to the women because, back in the day, there was a certain place,
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So I've heard from several psychic mediums that are female, and I've even witnessed in a couple places where, I was not affected at all, but other people were really rattled and they had to leave.
Yeah, I'd probably have to say if I, going through all the events we've had here, the most rattled would be women. I can think of 2 or 3 of them right off the bat that between, shortness of breath and being, having to leave a room immediately to, the story I was telling you about a while ago about the woman that got scratched on the 3rd floor. Just she was provoking as well, but sitting there, just provoking whoever was in that room. And she was getting hotter and hotter and decided, that she could not stay in the room any longer. Came tearing down the stairs and threw off her jacket and lifted up her shirt, and it was completely scratched in the back.
And just to add to that, what you said was there was no heat upstairs.
Correct.
And so it was very cold, but
she was getting hotter and hotter. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Great.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you're kind of a tech guy, and you recently bought an SLR camera. You want to tell our listeners what that is and what it does?
Basically, it uses the technology from Xbox Kinect, where it maps figures. It's a really interesting piece of equipment where you can walk around the house and the camera will try to detect entities in the house and map them as true stick figures. We've had several successful mappings in the house. One, which is online now, you can Google it, and, in our music room, where we had somebody playing the piano, a real live person, and with the SLS cam fixed on that person playing the piano, there was a figure right next to him playing the violin and tapping in time to the music, which is really, really cool.
I saw that online. I'll put it in the notes.
Yep.
Weren't there 2 stick figures first, and then he went over there and played? I'm trying to remember.
I think there was only one. I'd have to rewatch it. But I can only remember the one with the violin and the tapping. There might have been 2. Might have picked up a smaller one as well.
Yeah.
Earlier in that night, that was actually a separate night. We had one of our volunteers standing in the library, which is right behind you, with the stick camera on there, and there was a figure mapped right next to her, just standing there, and he decided to lie down and put his hand right up her dress. So that one we joke around with people.
Did she feel it? Or
no, did not feel a thing. So didn't notice till we showed her the video, and it was kind of funny.
Wow.
Yeah.
What's the science behind that? It just how does it create? How does it pick up the stick figures that it does?
I'm not really exactly sure, other than I don't want to say heat. I think it is a heat type thing.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a thermal cam.
Yeah.
So it does pick up I don't want to say a living body, because obviously it's not. But it's that same technology as like a thermal camera that would pick up an object.
So when the person was sitting down, you saw a stick figure for him, just like this for the ghosts.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So it was one person at a piano, but you almost saw 3 stick figures, but one guy playing and then and 1 or 2 next to him. So
exactly. It is very cool.
That was one of the better ones I've ever seen.
Yes, absolutely.
You see that a lot on Ghost Adventures, and you see... It seems to be somewhat new technology that they whip out a lot.
Yeah, it is. Within the past year and a half, or so, they've been, coming up more and more. And actually, you can make your own, YouTube videos, or you can just go online and buy them, which is what we did. And it comes with everything all installed.
But let's talk about a little bit of the the events that you have here. Let's
Sure.
that the people can do.
Yeah, we do. Well, like we've been talking about the ghost hunts. The building is available to rent out if you have your own private group that wants to come in and do some exploration. We do that. We also put on ghost hunts of our own, and we do 2 to 3, maybe even 4. It depends on the availability of our volunteers for ghost hunting. We do those throughout the year. As well as we run an escape room. So if you're into solving puzzles and trying to get out of the room, we're doing escape rooms. We're also...
Wait, is the escape room in this house? The
Yes.
Murdock-Whitney? Okay.
Well, we had one in each now.
Okay.
We dismantled the one next door. So the one is still here at the Murdock-Whitney. We have...
It'd be a little scary to be at the Isaac Morris with the blood-curdling screams and you can't get out.
Yeah, they've been pretty good with behaving with the escape room people, but the one we did over here was called the Secret Society, and it was fun for people to come through because a lot of the escape rooms you go to is, it's all props.
Yeah.
This one, you're in an authentic mansion doing an escape room, so it just added in a little bit of an extra layer of fun. We also...
What's the theme over at the other... at the Isaac Morris, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Is one at the church too, or just?
Escape room?
Yeah.
No, we haven't done anything with the church yet. We're still, like I said, new to that, so we haven't really found our niche for, what we're using it for. Although we do have an event planned in October. We're gonna there's a graveyard right in front of it, the Old Center Burial Ground. So we're doing a graveyard tour, and we're gonna end up at the church with a screening of The Nun. So that's going to be a fun night to just do a little graveyard exploring and then just watch a scary movie in an authentic church. So.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah,
it's going to be on a screen outside.
Nope, it's going to be right in the church.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're all booked for that. So that's coming up in October. But we're also, during the summer we do concerts here, and like I said, the building is rentable for pretty much anything. But we try to do events for all ages.
Downtown Abbey, do you do some stuff for that as well?
We've done sort of like, your place settings of the table and things like that, what utensils are used for what. So with authentic, a butler and a maid doing the instruction for you. So we've done that before. And of course, just the regular house tours we do as well. Those are on Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. We also, a couple of years ago, we came up with called Thursday Nights on the Porch. And we open up the museum from 6 to 9, or actually both buildings. And you just can come in here. You can bring a bottle of wine. You can sit on the porch. We have nice porch rockers out there. You can tour the buildings. You can sit and chat. And, like I said, bring your own bottle of wine or your drink of your choice and just enjoy the atmosphere. And that's become really, really popular, especially on a nice warm summer night.
When does that start?
That'll start up in June. Yeah.
So tell us about your ghost adventures here. Is it just at one house typically, or do they go across to try both of them?
Yeah, we have, when we do our own, both houses are open up to everybody that buys the ticket, and you're allowed to explore on your own, or if you want, we have our group of volunteers that will take a group of people with them and alternate between rooms in the houses. We try to keep it quiet and try not to overfill each building with people so you can at least get some reliable evidence. And it's been working out well so far.
And what's the website that they should check out?
www.winchendonhistory.com, and you'll see all the, our calendars on there, and you can buy tickets right online as well.
Okay, cool. And what's your most popular event?
Probably the ghost hunts right now. Between that and the escape rooms, those have been our most popular for recurring things. We do a casino night here as well. That's in September. We have all casino gambling tables, and this year we're doing a Roaring 20s theme, so you can wear your
that's phenomenal.
your Roaring 20s outfits.
When are you doing that?
That's going to be in September.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
So
the fall's a big time for this.
Yeah. We're busy pretty much from May to December. That's
excellent. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break. We're going to have a commercial. We're going to come back and talk about some of the ghostly things, okay?
Sure, okay.
Afraid of starting your own podcast? Buzzsprout makes it easy. In fact, it's so good, they've already helped over 100,000 people launch their own podcast, including me. Buzzsprout has helped me get onto many great platforms, including Apple Podcasts, iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. You also get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop onto other websites, detailed analytics to see how you're doing. They're addicting, trust me. Also, tools to promote your episodes, like sound bites to give your listeners a tease of what each episode is about. Buzzsprout is not only a user-friendly platform, they continually provide useful videos, articles, and tutorials to help you hone your podcast game. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and helps support the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Buzzsprout, the best place to launch your podcast. Don't be afraid to start today.
And we're back. Okay, Don, you want to tell us how you kind of came to be, I think you had quite a promotion from to your current position of president here. And so I'm curious about how that happened. And also, did you know this house was haunted when you got your promotion and started your kind of full-time labor of love here?
Well, first off, no, I did not know it was haunted when I took over. I started coming here, back when I bought my house here in Winchendon. I wanted to know all about it. So I was doing a lot of research and just hanging around here just because it was a cool place too. And one of the, actually the president at the time just approached me and said, "Oh, you're so interested in here. Would you like to be on the board?" I said, "Sure, absolutely. I'll sit on your board." So I sat on the board for a couple of years. And as time went on, the president was getting older, and she came up to me and she said, "No, I would really like you to take over and run the place, just 'cause I know you would do a good job at it, and I wanted to go to want somebody I can trust to take over." So I said, "Sure." Little did I know it was going to be just I joke that it's my full-time volunteer job, and sometimes there are 50 to 60 hours here that it just sucks your time away, but it is fun. So I do enjoy what I do, and I joke around as well. I won't stop doing it until I'm very tired or I croak. So
it's a short commute, right? You live right down the street?
I live about 500 feet away.
Okay, that's not bad. So your wife or family could call out the window and call you home, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Or most of the time, if I'm not there, they know where I am.
Yeah.
I don't even have to tell them, "Oh yeah, he's at the museum again." Yeah. So in between that and actually my real job is at the town hall. So my commute is just like a little circle, which is pretty nice.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah. You never go very far, but you travel back in time a lot.
Yes, I do. Yeah, and that's the fun part about it, is just seeing all the interesting stuff that comes through the house here. I just love it all, and I love to find out everything about it. I was a good fit. I'm glad she chose me.
So you are an IT guy, but you used to run an antique store, so that's kind of a unique kind of blend.
Yeah, I was always a computer guy by heart, and back in the early 2000s, I was just between jobs, and I was collecting antiques and refinishing them and selling them online, and people were loving all my stuff. So they said, you should open up a store. So I did, and that was in 2003, I think, and it was very successful. But I decided I wanted to move from Dedham to, we were looking for a big house, basically. So the store had to fall by the wayside, and somebody ended up taking it over. But I always had the antique thing still. I have that bug in me. I'm always looking for old stuff. Between upgrading things in the museum here, I'm always on the hunt for stuff where, that'll look better in the dining room, So I try to keep, try to keep it period. So I'm finding lots of interesting stuff, filling the house with stuff where I think would have been here when the family lived here.
So one thing I don't see here is a Ouija board. Is that something you guys purposely keep out of the house?
No, there's one probably in the closet somewhere.
Right,
actually,
okay.
Interesting story though. There at the toy museum, we have an actual Ouija board that was made here in Winchendon by the Converse Toy Company.
Really?
So yeah, we have an authentic one from about 1910.
Can you just take a quick 20 seconds or so? This is Toy Town, right? Winchendon, yes. And why, like Gardner, is Chair City, and a lot of people are probably not familiar with the background. So why is this Toy Town?
Winchendon at one point was the largest toy manufacturer in the world, rivaling Germany. All the toys that were churned out of here provided, for the whole country. Winchendon was just a centrally located town where they could bring 5 railroads right in here. So they're able to get all the materials here. They had the workers, and they had the factories on the river, and they were able to make, the business owners here had the money to do so. So in fact, the biggest manufacturer here was Morton Converse, and he was a cousin of the sneaker Converse, same family. But Morton decided he went from making collar boxes to wooden toys, and his business just skyrocketed, and mostly manufacturing, which is now our town icon, the rocking horse, as well as toy drums. Those are the biggest sellers. And he migrated from doing wooden toys to tin toys, and then finally cast iron, and then the...
I was going to ask about that, if everyone agrees.
Yep.
So if you're at like an auction or a flea market, some of those toys probably were manufactured here.
Absolutely, yep. And he wasn't as good with labeling his toys. The horses, for sure, you can tell, a Converse horse between any other one. There's a few distinctive marks, but the toys themselves, you kind of sometimes have to have a catalog to kind of look and say, oh, that's a Converse.
Yeah, wow, that's excellent.
Yeah.
So let's focus on the ghost aspect now. Murdock-Whitney, we're in this house right here, and you want to first like to start with some of your first experiences, and then some of the more notable ones that have happened here, if you don't mind.
Sure. Well, there's a lot that goes on here that can't be explained, and if anybody that knows me, especially my volunteers, ever since we started doing the ghost hunts here, I've always been the biggest skeptic of everything. So I always go in with a doubtful mind. But I've been alone in this house for many, many, many hours, and there have been a couple of things that have happened that I just can't explain. One, where I was here Christmas decorating. In fact, several times this has happened. My name has been called out. Just, hey, Don, and there's been nobody in here. And so that's been kind of, I don't want to say unsettling, but it's just kind of weird. I do think they like me. At least I hope they do. They haven't lashed out at me yet, so I think they think I'm doing a pretty good job. We also, I've had doors slam, lots of unexplained banging in the house that just you can't explain it away. Like my biggest explainer is, it's the heat, or it's the snow falling off the roof, or so things have happened like that I can't really explain.
What about toys?
No real haunted toys, although in doing ghost hunts here, we've found that when the toys were in this building, there were a lot more child entities in the house. Mm-hmm. Since we've moved them next door, there's a lot less of that here. Yeah. And a little more over there.
Part of me wishes there were banging drums at night or rocking horses.
Yeah, maybe.
Of course, I'm not the guy who spends time here. So.
Yeah, and there's footsteps too. There's a hallway that goes from our resource room just to the main house, and footsteps have been heard as well as the door at the end just closing on its own. Our chapel room on the third floor, if you walk into it, there's 2 bookcases full of Bibles. They'll open at random, just open. Really? And you can, when you close them, they're tight. And you can jump on the floor and they're not going to open. But if you just casually walk up there, it's sort of like they're saying hello and just grab a Bible. Or
do they open to the same pages, pretty much? You ever
no. The Bibles don't open. The doors to the
doors. Oh, I'm sorry.
To the bookcase. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's interesting. So those are things that I personally have experienced.
Have you seen any apparitions, or?
I have not. Not that I can, other than doing things with our SLS cam. That's about as.
So more auditory. Have you ever felt anything like coldness or anything around you, or is it more auditory things that you're?
Sort of. When we're doing, or even when private groups are having investigations, we gather in the kitchen. That's where all our volunteers are. And there are some nights in there the heat can be on 80 in this house, and that kitchen is like freezing cold. So we joke that all the entities are hiding with us. They're not in the mood to entertain anybody else because it is so cold in there, and you can feel the radiators steaming hot. So it's not like there's no heat in there at all. So I don't know. Yeah, that's I've had that type of feeling for sure.
Have you had any volunteers quit because of ghost experiences, or that have also experienced something that bothered them? Or
no quitters yet. In fact, the group that I have now, they're just more and more into it. It's just the more the better. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. It's funny. Yeah. And talk about some of. Well, let's first talk about some of the ghosts the familiar ghosts. Do you find that there are kind of the same type of set of entities here, or are there kind of transitory spirits that come and go?
A little of both. I mean, there's a couple of the same ones that are around that people seem to have. And like I said earlier, I try not to fill people in on it really much of anything because I like them to explore and find things on their own. And they all kind of come up with the same stuff. But one of the ones that's most well known is George Murdock. George was one of the first inhabitants of the house, and he died at age 7 of dysentery. And most groups that come through have some interaction with George, when whether it be playing with some sort of toy. One of the last groups that came through, we even got a photograph of George peering around a doorway while they were doing an experiment in the music room. So he's very playful, definitely not evil, but we do find that he's here. As well as they always come up with the old lady at the top of the stairs that's kind of guarding Mrs. Whitney's bedroom, and we think it might be a maid, or it could even be one of the Whitneys as well. Just very crabby and not wanting you to go into her bedroom.
So these aren't shadows. These are actually apparitions.
Yeah.
You can kind of see people.
Yeah.
But they haven't revealed themselves to you yet.
Correct.
Some people have seen them.
Exactly. You probably won't because they just know I'm the non-believer.
Yeah,
I don't know, but yeah, it seems that's very consistent with what they find.
So how has it changed your view of ghosts since you've been here? How many years have you been here for?
13.
13.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess I'm more of a believer now.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have. There are things I can't explain. So there's definitely something out there. I mean, there are times where there are evidence that's captured that is easily explained away.
Yeah.
But there are times where that's dead on. That or people come up with when they start talking to me about what they've found, and I haven't talked to them at all. And it's stuff that's not on the website or anything where they can do research, and they're dead on with what they're explaining. So it's kind of neat to have that happen. So
now, does this house have many tragic deaths that have happened besides Georgie, or is this more kind of just people lived here and?
Yeah, this house is more just natural death. As far as I know, there's been no tragic ones here other than George, and that was, it wasn't a violent one, but it was just a sad death for him.
Yeah. What did he die of again? I'm sorry.
Dysentery.
Okay. And what type of ghost hunters have been here, and how often do they frequent this place? Do you get calls weekly?
We have at least a couple of groups coming in a month. Nick Groff has been here 3 times, 3 or 4 actually. The legend trips, Tim Weisberg and his crew from down to the South Shore of Massachusetts have come through several times. They love to do a legend trip every year. We love having them. It's become one of Tim's favorite houses to come to. They've done filming here for other shows. I can't really... It's kind of like people call me up and want to do some filming. I'm like, yeah, okay. I kind of really don't pay much attention.
Yeah.
But there has been definitely interest. We have a group coming tomorrow, and to do a private investigation of our church. So it's definitely becoming a house that's on the map. So that's.
Well, I have to remember you when I do Afraid of Nothing too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Get a chance to watch it. Okay, that's great. Now let's talk about let's pivot and go to. Is it across the street?
Yeah.
Is it this?
Right over there. Isaac Morris.
Isaac Morris house.
Yep.
People can't see where we're pointing, but I was pointing across the street. Well, let's talk. That house you said is a little bit of a different vibe, a little bit of a different history.
Yeah.
Can you tell us much, or does that kind of ruin it when you do ghost adventures?
I can tell you if you want. It definitely is a sadder type of feeling in the house. There have been a couple of suicides in the house, and you can feel it when you walk in there. It's just a whole a heavier feel. It's not as open and warm.
Were they a long time ago, or
one was fairly recent in the 90s. The other one was early 1900s. That one is a little sadder, and it's very consistent with when the people come through to do the ghost hunts there. They always can, and I never tell them. Somebody's died here, and they can even pick the exact room where it happened, and so it's interesting. We find that we think that those entities are still roaming the house. Not in a bad way, though, for them. One of them's kind of playful. We think that he's kind of lonely, but he's not really evil to the people. But like I mentioned earlier, we've heard blood-curdling screams sitting at the table there. We've had pictures fly off the wall. We were doing a Christmas tour one year, and which is a happy thing. And
it should be.
Yeah, exactly. And 2 women at the top of the stairs fell down the stairs. And at the same time, all the pictures came off the wall on the staircase. And the pictures are secured pretty well. And the 2 women were like, we'd never fall downstairs. It's just, I don't know how that happened. At the same, it was like they were pushed. I was explaining that story to a subsequent ghost hunt we were doing a month later. And I said, oh yeah, these 2 ladies fell down the stairs and all the pictures, at the same time, all the pictures flew off the wall. People thought that was pretty cool, or, well, at least they didn't ladies didn't get hurt, so it can be called cool. And, so they were, interested in that story, and I said, okay, enjoy your ghost hunt, and I went to walk off, and all the pictures came off the wall again. It was like almost on cue. So I'm like, okay, so that again goes to one of my unexplainables.
Oh my God! Did you capture that on video, or
no? That was me just standing there with the group. So it was like 8 people. It was literally
scattered them pretty quickly. I would guess.
They were pretty hardy. They wanted more, but lots of whispering in your ear over there.
So it's more auditory than actual seeing apparitions there? Or?
Yes, definitely auditory over there. And we've captured lots of audio from groups going through, but one of them saying the eyes are creepy on the horses, and the guy says, there seems to be a military or Civil War man on the second floor in what's now a horse room. Who's never a happy guy. He may be the pusher. So that house is absolutely definitely different, but sure to provide a good time for people.
And the church is relatively new, so that's being explored, but not, probably nothing really to...
Correct. I mean, it dates to 1850. It was the third incarnation of a church on that site, as well as the town hall was there.
30 churches built on that site?
3 churches from from the 1780-ish, when Winchendon became a town. They built the town hall there. They disassembled it, and they built a giant church on that spot. Then the congregation got really, really small, so they disassembled that church and used the same wood, but made it much smaller.
Yeah.
And to which the version that's there now stands, and that was 1850.
So these two houses, the Murdock-Whitney and the Isaac Morris are right across the street. That church is about a mile away, roughly?
Yep, about a mile.
Okay,
Yep.
and there's a cemetery?
Yep, cemetery. The old center cemetery is right in front of it. So it just lends a little bit more creepy vibe to it as well.
Yeah. Have you ever picked up any senses there when you've gone there? Or?
Again, I haven't spent enough alone time there to do so. Nick Groff was there. He did do some with his spirit box, and he did catch some stuff. He did have an enjoyable time there. But I myself haven't got anything yet.
Do you think you're a little more psychic now? So do you pick up things easier than you normally wouldn't? Or?
No, in fact, I still think I'm kind I'm oblivious. At least I try to explain a lot of it off.
So does stuff happen? And because you come across, you're very calm, but you come across me as a guy who's inquisitive, who would try to solve something, the IT part of you.
Yeah.
So when stuff happens, are you like, it just happened? Or do you try to figure out what
sometimes, or like I said, one of my names been called out, and it sounded like one of my friends, exactly like her, and I thought she was in the building. I'm like, oh, it's Peg, but it wasn't. So I do try to find out, if that really was what it is.
Yeah.
But when I can't explain it, I just have to attribute it to who's ever in here. And I talk to them and just say, okay, great, thanks. I know you're here. And talk to them. Like a lot of times when I come through here at night, sometimes it's a little creepy. I'm just saying, just coming in here to grab a flashlight.
Don't throw anything.
Exactly. I'm leaving soon. Or I just greet them, hello, Whitney's, how you doing?
I was going to say, because at the S.K. Pierce house, the curator, Ken Watson, the people that are there, they always say hello and they say goodbye when they leave. I was curious if you did the same thing.
Yeah, most of the time I do.
Okay.
So it's just
it works, doesn't it?
It does.
Just shows a level of respect in it.
Yeah.
And these houses. You had mentioned something, and I just want to bring it up again off camera. Is you say when you guys have your ghost adventures, you have a pretty high hit rate of something happening.
Yeah. In fact, there has not been a group that has left here that has not found something, which I'm happy that they enjoy themselves. So there definitely is activity, and like I joked earlier, sometimes there's more at Isaac Morris, sometimes there's more here at the Murdock-Whitney. I think it just the ghosts get together and they just decide which house they want to put the show on. And sometimes it's both, but it really is a good spot for people to investigate, because it's like I said, you're going to leave with something.
So if someone was going to do a ghost adventure for the SLR camera, do they have to hire or make sure someone from the house is here, obviously, to run that for them, or how does that work? Sort
of. I mean, when we rent out the building to private groups, we're here anyway, so. If they wanted to use our camera, they could, and if it was, I guess it'd be a group-by-group basis if you were pretty familiar with it. We would let them go with it, but if they needed help with it, we have plenty of volunteers that would go with them and do it.
Is this house, the Murdock-Whitney house, if I was going to be a betting man, is this one of the better ones for SLR, and across the street is one of the better ones for EVPs? Would that be my physical center?
Absolutely, yep. I mean, we've got lots of good SLR images in this house, and not as much over at Isaac Morse. So you're definitely spot on.
Okay, so I'll come here and have you guys do the SLR with my camera, and then I'll go across the street and bring my spirit box.
Sure,
that would be my best bet. And the church, we don't know. We'll see what happens.
Church, yeah, like I said, we're doing something tomorrow, so we'll find out what happens at the church.
Well, thank you very much, Don, for having me. I'd like to close by doing, you know, because places like this don't survive unless you have functions and people contribute. So you mind just giving us the website and kind of how they can support this house?
Absolutely, yeah. You go www.winchendonhistory.com, and you can support us by renting it out, doing a ghost hunt. Or if you want to have a birthday party here, you want to rent out our ice cream shop, come to do an escape room. We're doing a scavenger hunt. And there's all sorts of activities we do here, and they're all on our website, so that's the main spot to go, or on our Facebook page as well. The Winchendon History and Cultural Center is the name of the Facebook page. We promote regularly on there the stuff we're doing, and all the money goes to maintain all of our buildings, which are increasingly expensive to maintain. So it's a challenge, but we've accepted it, and we're kind of developing the fundraising events to accommodate that. So
great. I always do this in my interviews. I say my last question, then I have another one. You bought a house and you live here. Have you ever had any haunted experiences there, or knock on wood?
Knock on wood, I haven't, and because one of these days I'll bring a group through. I mean, it's the same age as this house, pretty much the same size. But I've heard people tell me there's somebody on the staircase. I haven't experienced anything myself at my house yet, and I'm waiting for my boys to move out before I'll let the group go through.
Yeah, excellent. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. This has been a great place, and this is a podcast. I would say what's coming up, but let's just say this one thing. You guys, it's not like you have a 6-month wait for stuff. Although you get a lot of activity here, you are people can sign up and it is accessible for events. So
Absolutely, yep, definitely. We have obviously the summer gets busier, but we're open all year for renting for events. So there's something if you have in mind, certainly give us a call or give us an email.
And if they want to check it out, you said in the summer you have this really cool thing. What is that?
Thursday nights on the porch, and we're open on Thursday nights from 6 to 9. You can bring a bottle of wine. You can bring snacks and sit on the porch in our rockers. You can tour the mansions at your leisure, unaccompanied, and just enjoy yourself for the night. And it's a great way to meet people and just get a feel for the houses. And then you can see what we're doing around here and maybe come back for another event.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared. Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout-out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.